All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwat, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwat is sisters. Shalom means peace, and Yashar Allah is Israel in ancient Paleo Hebrew. All right, you can see from the title of the lesson, World War III and prophecy, beat your plowshares into swords. All right, and this is inspired by an article that the beloved brother Azaria sent me yesterday. All right, and it says, World at War. Russia gave nuclear bomb secrets to Iran in return for missiles to attack Ukraine. All right, now we know according to prophecy that there will be a third world war. All right, now what we see happening in the earth is a Mexican standoff, if you will. All right, you have nations that are picking sides. All right, you have nations who are arming themselves. All right, who are basically using a barter system. All right, in preparation for war. All right, this is Revelation 11 and 14. And it reads, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So we had one world war, we had a second world war, and according to prophecy, there will be a third. All right. So I have this article. I want to read this article, and I also have a couple of clips that I want to play through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Lord willing, this be edifying. So let's start here. I want to start with this clip first. All right, this is from Brian Berletic. Russia obliterates Ukraine's army. NATO admits defeat inevitable. All right, and I'll just start with this conversation somewhere around the 10-second mark.
Missile question and his answer. Now, I wanted to show you actually a video by from Lloyd Austin, an interview that he gave, because I think it kind of sets the stage, and it's about the long-range missile question and his answer, which is to the question of whether Ukraine should have these missiles and whether they should be able to use them. I think his answer kind of perfectly encapsulates what we are talking about here with these escalations and these risks, while also.
Now, for those who don't know, what he's talking about is there's a conversation about NATO giving Ukraine long-range missiles to basically have the ability to attack Russia's homeland. All right, this is why you've seen Putin begin to make more threats concerning the retaliation and the consequence of giving Ukraine long-range missiles. All right, this is a continual escalating situation. All right, it's not in the news as much because of the election, but it is still hot and heavy, concerning the tension in that area.
So, showing how the U.S. is very much aware of these risks and also of maybe the folly of this whole project altogether. But here we go.
President Zelensky has repeatedly requested these long-range attacks inside Russia. Even allies agree. So what is stopping the United States from giving the go-ahead?
Again, I don't believe what is stopping the United States. I don't believe one specific capability will be decisive, and I stand by that comment. I think Ukraine has a pretty significant capability of its own to address targets that are well beyond the range of ATACMS or even Storm Shadow, for that matter. And as we look at the battlefield currently, we know that the Russians have actually moved their aircraft that are using the glide bombers beyond the range of ATACMS. So this is an interesting argument. But again, I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to make sure that we remain focused on helping them do those things that are enable them to be effective in defending their sovereign territory.
Now, real quick, I want to bring this out first before we continue. This is Joel chapter 3 and 9, and it reads, Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And this is what you see. All right, you see nations gearing up for war. Now, Ukraine is obviously in the middle of a conflict for good reason. All right, they have need of certain weapons. All right, but you have nations like Iran, all right, China, all right, who are not necessarily in a heated conflict, all right, but they are basically at an arms race. And this is why this news of the information exchange, the bartering between Russia and Iran is becoming more it's becoming public, all right, because Joe Biden made a statement concerning this. But this is all the nations basically beating their plowshares into swords, meaning they're gearing their economy and their nation for war. Now, Russia's already a war economy at this point because they're right smack in the middle of war. Iran is beginning to get more and more involved in a conflict in the state of Israel. All right, so this is a very beneficial situation for Iran and Russia. Now, we know, according to prophecy, that these two nations are going to stick together. All right, and we'll get that as well right after I continue with this clip.
Okay. That was difficult for Lloyd Austin that to answer that question. But yeah, your reactions to the fact that there are these escalations, it's almost like a runaway train toward war with Russia. But at the same time, I mean, just listening to Lloyd Austin, the confidence just doesn't seem to be very present. Your thoughts?
Well, again, that's another good point. And for people who remember the 2019 Rand Corporation paper extending Russia, and this idea of sending lethal aid to Ukraine to precipitate a Russian intervention to hopefully overextend Russia and collapse it in a kind of Soviet-style collapse. It also said that the risks were Ukraine being destroyed in the process, and also destroyed along with it U.S. credibility. And that's exactly what we are watching be destroyed right now. And when you see the Secretary of Defense of the U.S. talking like this, like you say, no confidence, and they know that if they authorize these long-range strikes into Russia, there will be a retaliation. Russia makes by far more long-range weapons than Collective West does. The retaliation will escalate against Ukraine. We constantly hear about the full-scale invasion that Russia has conducted into Ukraine. But if you look at the conflict from 2022 up until now, you can see how Russia has gradually expanded it, escalated, Ukraine striking Russian energy infrastructure. Russia was already hitting Ukrainian infrastructure, but they had left a lot of it intact so that they could escalate. And as soon as Ukraine began striking Russian energy infrastructure, they started wiping out the rest of Ukraine's energy infrastructure. So there's always another rung up the ladder Russia reserves to escalate, specifically to maintain this leverage over the Collective West. Something else that we've heard Russia talk about is providing long-range precision-guided weapons to other actors around the globe. Now, we all know the United States has hundreds of military bases all around the globe. We can see how ineffective they are against, say, Ansar Allah in Yemen. Imagine Russia providing even more capabilities to groups like this around the globe. The U.S.
Now, again, this goes back into Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, Joel 3 and 10. This time I'm going to read it in the NLT. Joel 3 and 10 reads, Hammer your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Train even your weaklings to be warriors. All right, and this is what's happening through the Spirit. All right, the Lord is behind this. All right, whether people understand that or not, we can see Yahweh Shemal Shah in this. This is Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, and the world is heading toward war. All right, whether people like it or not. All right, the Lord's will be done. All right. And we see the war drums beating. All right. Now, he spoke of a threat, or basically a statement that Putin made concerning equipping other nations with missiles. All right. And I want to get an article on that. All right. Because again, this is basically an arms race. He mentioned another thing. He said that Russia already makes more long range missiles. All right. Than I believe Ukraine. All right. Now, this is not even including the exchange between Iran and Russia. So what we see is Putin is playing for keeps. All right. This isn't a drill. This isn't a fire drill. This is dead serious. When you have nations spend billions of dollars on information, on drills, they're not doing it for no reason. All right. There's a real actionable threat that's happening on the earth. And it's all being brought by Yahweh Shema Shai, whether the world understands that or not. All right. So this article, jumping to this article really quick. This is Putin warns NATO risks war over Ukraine long-range missiles. Russia expels UK diplomats it accuses of spying. All right. Now I want to jump down to the meat of this. It says President Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia would be at war with the United States and its allies if they lift restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range Western weapons. Putin's vow to follow such a move with appropriate decisions was his latest, perhaps most drastic attempt to draw red lines over NATO members' backing for Kyiv. And it came on the eve of a meeting in Washington where the issue is expected to be high on the agenda. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer held talks with President Joe Biden at the White House on Friday afternoon as London clashed with Moscow over the expulsion of 6 diplomats accused of spying, accusations the UK dismissed as baseless. Now, I want to jump down to Putin's comments. All right, it says, let's jump down here. It says, we are not talking about allowing or not allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these weapons, Putin said Thursday in comments to propagandist Pavel Zarubin. We are talking about deciding whether NATO countries are directly involved in the military conflict or not. So basically, this is a direct threat. This is basically saying if you guys give them long-range missiles, you guys are in jeopardy. All right, and this is why, it's beautiful through the spirit, and I want to bring this precept out as well before I continue. All right, because we know that the end goal is that Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to be destroyed. All right, for those who don't know. And let's get this here. This Revelation 18 and 21. And it reads, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So that is the end goal. All right. And this includes even the allies of America turning on her. All right. Let's go here to Revelation 17. And yeah, I'll start at 15. And he saith unto me, you know what? I got to start up a little bit. So let's start at the top and then I'll jump down. Revelation 17 and 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now that great whore is America. All right. America is allied with you can call it the Western world, but that whore that sitteth upon many waters is America. All the influence really pushes forth through America. All right, so it is described as a whore in Revelation, the 17th chapter. Now, when we continue in verse 2, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. All right, and basically what Esau has done, all right, so-called white man, particularly in America, the West, they've basically exported wickedness packaged as liberty and democracy. All right, and now the nations have drunken of this wine, some of them by force and some of them for the the bribes that they would get in exchange. Either way, these nations have been drunken with the wine, and now you have Russia being raised up, according to prophecy, as a guard unto nations who no longer want to be exploited. All right, so Revelation 17:2 again reads, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. In the NLT, it reads, the kings of the world have committed adultery with her, and the people who belong to this world have been made drunk by the wine of her immorality. All right, so basically, immorality has been packaged as liberty and democracy through the whore. Verse 3 reads, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, now the 7 heads goes into the NATO countries. All right, as a matter of fact, bear with me. The 7 nations, the 7 horns, all right, is Germania Major, Germania Minor, all right, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, the British, and the Greeks. All right, so that's Germania Major, Germania Minor, Romans, French, Spanish, British, and the Greeks. That makes up the founding of the NATO countries. Now, since then, there's been more than those 7 countries that are mentioned. Yet this was their foundation. All right, and the 10 horns involves the EU nations. All right, and bear with me. I just want to grab my notes. All right, and those nations are Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany. All right, those would be the 10 horns. All right, so you have the 7 heads, which is the NATO countries. All right, and the 10 horns, which is the EU countries. Now, the woman that sitteth upon that is America. All right, so jumping down, because I want to get the point of this. All right, concerning this lesson, Revelation 17:15, and it reads, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Meaning the allies of America are going to turn against her. For the Most High hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh Shema Shai shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right, and that city is America. All right, so I wanted to go through that through the Spirit. I know it was a little long-winded, but I wanted to go through that because it highlights that America is the end goal. The end goal is that America, Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed by the Heavenly Father. And these are the tools that the Lord is using. All right, and one of the main tools, all right, is Russia. All right, Russia figures prominently in prophecy, all right, in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, as a guard unto these other nations against the West. All right, so let me grab a little bit more of this before I continue. I want to go to this clip here. Putin's secret nuclear deal with Iran. I want to play a few minutes of this, and then we'll go into Ezekiel 38, Lord willing.
Russia has reportedly shared critical nuclear technology with Iran in exchange for ballistic missiles used in the Ukraine conflict, according to Western intelligence sources, as reported by the British tabloid The Sun. This deepening cooperation between Moscow and Tehran has intensified fears in the West, where officials are concerned about the implications for regional security and the balance of power in the ongoing war. During a meeting at the White House, US President Joe Biden and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer discussed the escalating threat posed by this exchange. Intelligence reports confirmed that Russia had received Iranian Fath 360 ballistic missiles as part of a broader agreement between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Hello, I am Iman. I am 17 years old. I live in the northern Gaza.
Well, there's only one reason we're having these discussions, and that is because Putin has illegally invaded Ukraine. The quickest way to resolve this, obviously, lies through what Putin actually does, because it's for him to end this. But we are having the discussion. We've stood with Ukraine. Ukraine has a right to self-defense, and we've stood united, not just with our allies here in the US, but across with our NATO allies. That's very, very important to us. But today was about having the chance to talk not just about a particular step or tactic, but the strategy in relation to Ukraine. But also we cover the Middle East in some extensive detail, and other areas across the world. So it's a really important occasion for us to have this chance to discuss with our allies.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, speaking in London, expressed concern over the increasing flow of military and technological resources between the two nations.
Now you have to imagine a hypocrisy, right? The Ukraine wouldn't be able to do anything without the help of the US. Not just giving them weapons, but also giving them logistic help. All right, which shows you that, Esau is a hypocrite, because he's helping the Ukrainians, but they don't want the Russians to have help from their allies. And this is why the world is witnessing this. But ultimately, there's a line being drawn in the sand. All right, so this is a perfect opportunity to turn to Ezekiel 38, and I'll start at verse 1. And it reads, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." And this is referencing Russia. All right, for those who don't know, Russia, where Russia is geographically, originally belonged to Japheth. All right, and this is why it's mentioning Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, because those Edomites, all right, in Russia, are occupying a land that originally belonged to Japheth. All right, now when you go into this, what's interesting is that when you go to chief prince, all right, chief prince, when you go into chief, it's Ra'ash. All right, and then we know prince goes into, says lifted up one, from the root Nasa, lift up. But when you deal with the actual etymology of Russia, it goes into Ra'ash Shar, all right, which is chief prince. All right, so it's spiritual when you look at this, because again, all right, the Lord is addressing Russia in this time, the time that we're living in now. All right, they're occupying a land that was originally occupied by Japheth, but the Lord is speaking to them. All right, verse 3 reads, "And say, Thus saith Yahweh Shemel, Behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." All right, so again, you see this word, chief prince. All right. Now, continuing, it says, verse 4, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet." Now, for those who don't know, Persia, all right, is the original name of Iran. All right, let's go here for edification. It says Iran in Wikipedia. It says Iran, officially the Islamic Republic of Iran, also known as Persia. All right, so according to Bible prophecy, the Iranians would be allied with Russia. All right, so this article comes as no surprise to, the watchmen. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. But for edification's sake, this is beautiful. We get to see the details of the Lord's work in action. All right, continuing, Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Now keep in mind that Russia still is gaining influence in Africa. You know, a couple years ago, there was a big push of nations that were controlled by Western puppets being overturned. All right, and those leaders that replaced them reaching out to Russia. All right, now that's a topic for another lesson, but I just want to cover that briefly. And you can look up the articles. All right, those conflicts are still going on right now, but a few of those nations, I won't say a lot of them, but a few of those nations who were controlled by the West, their leaders have been replaced by leaders who are sympathetic to Russia. So again, Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. All right, and that goes into the Turks. All right, the land of Turkey, Erdogan. All right, who has requested to be a part of BRICS if he isn't already. Just want to fact check. Yeah, so they submitted a formal application for membership. So they're not a member yet, but they're bidding to be a part of that alliance. All right, here's a quick article. I'm not going to read it, but just the title alone says enough. I'll get out of this one. Here we go. So it says, Spook the West, Turkey's bid for BRICS, both a strategic and symbolic step, analysts say. So we know, according to prophecy, that eventually Turkey will side with Russia. And Turkey's been on the fence for a while now. All right, now here's the point, verse 7. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. All right, so let's go into this article. All right, it says, World at War. Russia gave nuclear bomb secrets to Iran in return for missiles to attack Ukraine. And it's fair game. All right, when you look at the fact that the United States, the American military, is helping kill Russians, all right, by giving Ukraine not just weapons, but logistical help. And they also have boots on the ground unofficially, all right, allegedly, So continuing, it says Russia has reportedly traded crucial nuclear secrets with Iran in exchange for ballistic missiles to be aimed at Ukraine. All right, it says the deal, which has raised serious concerns, was a key topic during recent discussions between U.S. President Joe Biden and UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer at the White House. All right, it says intelligence reports suggest Iran's long-standing efforts to develop nuclear weapons may be nearing completion, with Russia playing a pivotal role. In exchange for the transfer of nuclear expertise, Iran has supplied Russia with 360 ballistic missiles, which Russian President Vladimir Putin has received from Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Says this alarming partnership has deepened fears that Moscow could push Tehran to finally acquire a nuclear weapon, the Sun reported. Man, I got to get this real quick. This is beautiful. Because all the treachery Esau's done, all right, these American Edomites have done, is now coming back to haunt them. All of these little crews and cliques that they done ran in to overthrow other people, now it's coming back to bite them in the ass, and they don't like that. All right, excuse my French. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 9. And it reads, you know what? Let's start here at 5. I'll start at 4. That thou take up this parable, this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Now I'll start at verse 4 because again, the king of Babylon, all right, we know Babylon the Great is America. So the Lord is using this parable against America, all right. Ultimately, it's against Esau, Edom, the so-called white man as a nation of people. But the spearhead is, if you will, is America. It's the most powerful nation on the earth, and it's the most powerful nation in human history. So this is a proverb against them. All right. You have ruled the nations in anger. You are persecuted and none hindereth. All right. And now what the Lord is doing is preparing hell. All right. The chief ones of the earth, the chief ones of the other nations to rise up against her. All right. So I'll read a little bit more. It says, during his visit to London, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned that Russia and Iran are engaging in a mutually beneficial relationship involving the exchange of military technology and nuclear technology. This cooperation is seen as a serious threat to global stability, particularly in Israel, where fears of an existential threat loom large. In response to the missile shipment, the UK has banned Iran air from its airspace and imposed sanctions on Russian shipping firms involved in transporting the rockets. Now, keep in mind, we touched the article where Putin basically warned these other nations, or warned America, Slovakia, that if you supply Ukraine with long-range missiles, you guys are going to potentially become a direct threat. All right, you are going to be directly involved at that point. So now you see Russia working more closely with their allies. All right, and this only means one thing. All right. That war is on the horizon. All right, now let me jump back to this article. I know I've been moving around. So this is the NBC News article. All right, Putin warns NATO risks war over Ukraine long-range missiles. I just want to jump down to this paragraph. It says this will mean that NATO countries, the US and European countries, are at war with Russia, Putin said. And if this is so, then bearing in mind the change in the very essence of this conflict, we will make appropriate decisions based on the threats that will be created for us. Putin added that the Ukrainian army does not have the ability to program long-range missiles or the satellite data necessary for their targeting, relying on NATO military personnel for those tasks. So it's hypocrisy to tell Russia they can't rely on their allies when Ukraine wouldn't even be able to function as a military without the help of the US. All right. Continuing, it says Putin's comments were echoed by the Speaker of Russia's State Duma. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. V. Volodin, in a Telegram post Friday, reads NATO became a participant in military operations in Ukraine. Volodin wrote, they are waging war on our country. All right, so the war drums are beating, man. All right, and this is why everyone is beating their plowshares into swords. All right, they're beating their pruning hooks into spears because ultimately it's time for the judgments of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, so I'll end it with this. It's Joel chapter 3 and verse 9 in the G&T, in the Good News Translation. All right. So Joel 3 and 9 reads, make this announcement among the nations. Prepare for war. Call your warriors. Gather all your soldiers and march. Hammer the points of your plows into swords and your pruning knives into spears. Even the weak must fight. Hurry and come, all you surrounding nations, and gather in the valley. Send down, O Lord, your army to attack them. The nations must get ready and come to the valley of Yahweh Shema Shai, the valley of judgment, Salakia, of Yahweh Shaphat. All right, that's what it is in the Hebrew. There I, the Lord, will sit to judge all the surrounding nations. All right. And that valley is the Levant region. All right. That Middle Eastern region, that Levant region is a hot spot. It's going to be the valley. So what you see now is the nations begin to gather. All right. You see all the nations begin to assemble. You know, they're all getting their guns and their weapons ready. All right. And they're not doing this for naught. The threat is real. All right. And ultimately, it's not going to just be a threat forever. I also want to grab this. I didn't touch it yet. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15. And I'll jump down to verse 29. I'll start at 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. All right, and the modern Assyrians are the Americans. All right, Esau, Edom, beginning with these Americans. All right, now I want to deal with this word Carmanians. All right, because that is also in reference to Iran. All right, so let me grab this. All right, this is from Encyclopedia Iranica. All right, it says Carmania, all right, region east of Fars province, approximately equivalent to modern Kerman, the old Persian form. Kerman, Kermana, rendered as Elamite, all right, because the Persians are Elam. All right, jumping down to the point. So like, yeah, lost it. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so it says the old Persian ethnic name, Carmania or Carmanian, is reflected in Elamite. All right, so this is another name for Persia. All right, which occurs twice in unpublished tablets. And in Greek, Carmonio. On one occasion, Herodotus referred to a Persian clan as Germanio, reflecting confusion with the Germanic people, from which Carmania is a back formation. The etymology of the name is disputed, but a supposed connection with Iranian, all right, Karma, and mid-Persia and in-Pers, Kerm, worm, is obviously an instance of popular etymology. All right, so another reference or a title, if you will, for Iran or Persia is Carmen or Carmanians, Carmania. All right, so I just wanted to touch that as well through the Spirit before I close out. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath who are believing this word and all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.